Hi guys. So you can hear that I'm still pretty sick. Yeah, I am feeling a lot better, but my voice hasn't come back yet. So I thought I'd try to film something. Hopefully my very annoying hoarse voice isn't as bad on camera as it sounds to me in person, because it sounds pretty bad. Film. So I'm gonna do my foundation routine today, and it's heating up here. It's really hot in the sun, and it's getting humid again, and you know, yay, love it when it's hot, right? Of course, that takes a whole different set of makeup. And if you're oily skinned like me, battling oil production during the hot days, in addition to battling sweat and all those things, is a nightmare. And so, this is a tried and true trick, and it's something that a lot of makeup artists use that a lot of people don't know about somehow. And it's the cheapest, easiest primer for oily skin ever in life, and that is Milk of Magnesia. This is just regular old Milk of Magnesia. It doesn't have any flavor or anything. It says original. And I've tried other brands of Milk of Magnesia, but they don't work as well as the Philips one. So yeah. So a couple things to remember before you start. Wait, let me get my hair back. I cut my hair, in case you guys didn't know. Notice. It was getting really, really long back here and really, really annoying. So yeah. Kind of trying to grow it back into a bob, and we'll see what happens, unless of course I get fed up with it and it'll go short again. Okay, hair is out of the way, and something you need to remember is that Milk of Magnesia is quite drying on the skin. If you have even normal skin, I don't really recommend this unless you use it only in the places that you tend to get oily. Like if you have normal combination skin and just tend to get oily right here, use it only in that spot. I get oily pretty much across the entire center band of my face here and right down the middle. So I get oily right around here, here. It is awful, and it makes your makeup slide all over the place and separate, and it's horrible. Even when I'm using a foundation like Color Stay, I get oil breakthrough, which is very annoying. And so even though the foundation itself stays really, really well, it doesn't separate as much, which is good. I still get oil breakthrough, and I look like a grease patch after a couple of hours. So I want to shake this up, and now because it is drying on the skin, even if you have oily skin, you must moisturize first. And I just put on my Pond's Luminous Moisture. There we go. It says an SPF in it, and I put that on and let it sink into my skin for about 10 minutes. And now I'm going to just put on my Milk of Magnesia. So you need to shake it up. And I tend to, this is my own personal bottle, so it doesn't really matter. I tend to pour this into the cap. And I'll use a flat foundation brush like this one. This is by Elf. This is just really old. It doesn't matter because it can wash out, but I just like to use an older brush. And I like a flat brush for this, just because it makes it easier to apply. Now you want to apply it really thinly. So I kind of drag it across the face to get a thin layer on. I don't take it too much higher than that because I don't really get oily up here. Take out my nose ring. Avoid your under eye area. I don't think I know anybody that gets oily under their eyes. And even if you do, it's not as oily as the rest of your face. So you can get away with using like an under eye primer there. You don't want to put the Milk of Magnesia there because it's just too drying. When you're putting it on, you want to go in one direction. As Milk of Magnesia dries, it tends to get kind of flaky. I'll put a little bit, tiny bit through my brows as well, because I do get oily in my eyebrows. Okay. And then I'll just go back in and put another very thin layer, kind of where I know I get the most oily. And then you have to wait for it to dry completely. So sit around, fan yourself, stand in front of a fan, whatever, until it goes completely dry. And you can feel when it starts to dry, it starts to get a little bit tight. So what I tend to do as it's drying is I tend to move my face around just a little bit to ease some of that tightness. And also it will stop. You don't want it to dry completely and then move your face around, because if you do that, it's going to start to crack. And then it'll flake, and it's just not pretty under foundation. And it really is just about being patient. So now that that is completely dry, you can see that I look very, very odd. So the next step that I tend to do is I will take a clean buffing brush. This is just a Real Techniques buffing brush. And I will just gently, very gently, brush it over the skin where I have the Milk of Magnesia. And this is just going to help, again, to reduce the dust that you can get with Milk of Magnesia that will get itself involved with your foundation. And then even if it doesn't show up as dust, it will look really, it'll make your foundation look very cakey and feel very cakey. So now that that's done, you can see that it's kind of disappeared a lot into the skin. So now I'm going to go ahead with my foundation. Because I'm kind of in between shades at the moment too, I'm going to mix my W6 and W7 L'Oreal True Match. Now, I personally love this foundation, and without the Milk of Magnesia primer on me in the hot months, it does get a little bit oily on my skin. But once I use this first, this foundation works really, really well. It's light and it's luminous without being oily. And I don't like Color Stay foundation over the top of the Milk of Magnesia just because it's so heavy. It makes it feel really, really thick and kind of gross. So I personally don't like it. But I'm just going to mix these kind of in a half-to-half ratio. I'm going to dot this on. You don't want to rub it because, again, you don't want to lift up the Milk of Magnesia underneath. Milk of Magnesia. Why do I have such a hard time saying that? MOM. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. So I'm just going to kind of get it where I have the MOM for now. Using a clean buffing brush. I prefer this method to using a beauty blender just because when the beauty blender is damp, I find that it breaks up the MOM and it makes it kind of go weird. It doesn't last as well. So I prefer to use a buffing brush and I just stamp it on. Again, you don't want to be rubbing yet because you don't want to disturb what's underneath. Make sure that you cover up whatever Milk of Magnesia you've put on. And once you've done that, you can start to blend it backwards into your hairline, and then you can start to smooth it out. My neck is a bit lighter than my chest and my arms, so we do this as well. And like I said, then you can just go in and buff it as you would normally to smooth it out. And when blending onto your neck, don't forget under here. And I run it through my brows as well because you remember I did put a little bit of magnesia through there. And that's pretty much it for the foundation. So it's actually pretty simple. It's just a matter of remembering to bounce it on instead of rubbing it on. Then I'm just going to go ahead and conceal and stuff as normal. I am loving this concealer, by the way. Absolutely loving it. Age Rewind from Maybelline. I've just started trying it, and I think this is such a great concealer. It doesn't crease up on me, and it's a neutral tone, which comes off ever so slightly pink on me, but that's good because it's the opposite of my skin tone, and so it just brightens up under my. So you could use a brush to blend it, and I'm just going to use my fingers. Just blend that in really, really well. I'm going to use my foundation brush to blend the edges. Go down the center of my nose. And now before I blend that in, I'm going to add a little bit of the neutralizer shade, which is a little bit more yellow. Remember, we're not trying to highlight under the eyes, which is why I didn't put that under there. I'm highlighting across the rest of my face. And this time, I'm going to blend it in with my brush. Same foundation brush. Same stamping method. So now normally at this point I would go ahead and finish my eye makeup, but because I'm going to do that for another tutorial, I am just going to let this sit on my face for a little bit before I powder it, because you want all of your creams to kind of work together and just breathe and relax into the skin before you powder them. That way they don't look overly cakey. So I figured that while I'm waiting for that to happen, I might as well just apply my blush. And because I'm using my Milk of Magnesia today, I can use a cream blush. So I'm going to use this one by Elf. I think this is called Superstar. This is really, really pigmented, so literally that's enough. I'm going to warm it up with my finger first, like this, because it is kind of thick. And then I'm just going to pat it where I want it. You could use your brush to blend it in if you wanted to, but I'm just going to use my finger and just keep tapping. This shears it out nicely, and that way you can add more if you think you need more, instead of putting on too much. And I just find this blends really, really nicely with the finger if you're patient about it. So I set my camera up and then forgot to record. Excellent. All I did was, I filled in my eyebrows. Just to give my foundation time to settle, just so I was doing something. It took me about 10 minutes, which is around about the same amount of time that I would let my foundation sit before I powder it. And then I went in, I tapped under my eyes, went in with my Real Techniques setting brush and my Maybelline Dream Matte powder to set under my eyes. And then I'm going to go in with my powder brush from Real Techniques. I already started this and then realized that, wait a minute, I'm not filming. Crap. So I'm going to finish what I was doing. Just taking up some powder and then tapping it on lightly. Just until your foundation doesn't feel tacky anymore. The idea with oily skin is that you take it down to as matte a finish as you can. And then if you want to, you add back in any dewiness or highlight. And I'm using my Elf bronzer, warm bronzer. I love these two colors, the lightest one and then the pink one. Of course, you could put on cream highlight and cream contour, which you would do before you powder, obviously. So I'm just going to hit the top of my cheekbone right here. And I actually do like a fairly dewy finish when it comes to my foundation. But the problem, of course, with dewy finishes is that they don't work on people with oily skin. So I go back in and I add shine. Which means you need to use something that's, if you're going to do that, something that's not uber chunky and glittery, that's going to make your face look like you've got glitter all over it. I love to highlight the tip of my nose. And then, as always, I'm going to take a wet wipe, a wet wipe on my finger, clean off my moles. So that's basically it. That's how I finished my face. Of course, you could use a setting spray after this. I'm all out of setting spray, so I'm not going to, but again, you could. The one thing you have to remember when you're using the Milk of Magnesia is that you can get cakey very quickly. So you want to be careful and take your time, apply stuff in thin layers as much as possible, let it set between layers, between steps. So that's basically it. That's my oily skin Milk of Magnesia base primer foundation routine thing. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Also, let me know if you want to see an eyebrow tutorial, and I'll film that one for you. It changes like every week, but you know, I'll do something that's universal enough. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing if you have. Stick around, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.